Welcome back to When Bad Things Happen to Good People, a podcast about censorship and the arts. My name's Todd Sullivan. Joining me as always is Mr. Peter Amon.
Hello, hello.
And today we are starting our look at The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. We were talking about this book already before we were recording and testing our levels and everything else, and we promptly started talking about the book, and then it's like, oh my god, we haven't actually started.
We need
the
to start
podcast
recording
yet.
right now.
We need to. We were recording already, but we hadn't done the intro, and who knew how long we were going to ramble on for?
That's
and that
right.
might have been a nightmare in editing to have to like grab this chunk from the beginning, move it into the middle.
That's right. So we wanted to get you guys on this and not miss out on some of these discussions.
Exactly.
Let's talk about this book.
One of the reasons there's a few reasons that we wanted to jump on this book.
Yeah. The biggest one is that the main character's name is
It's Charlie.
No.
We've had an interesting run of books set in high schools with main characters named Charlie.
Yeah.
There's this one, obviously. There's Rage, featuring Charlie Decker. Charlie was the main character in the Chocolate War.
Yeah.
And Charlie is also one of the characters from Heartstopper.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Charlie is just like and that's spread across a fair number of decades.
Yeah.
That
exactly.
people are still pulling the name Charlie.
Yeah.
He's just
it's just a solid
high school student name.
Yes.
Yeah. No, one reason was
I will say though that Charlie is potentially a pseudonym in this case, right?
That is true as well.
It is not his real name. Like the names have been changed to protect, the innocent or
it could be that
right?
this character has read the Chocolate War
or
or Rage and decided to draw the Charlie name from that.
Yeah,
who knows? But one reason was because it is set in high school. And we haven't done one of those in a while. And it's a little bit late now. It's mid to late October while we were recording. We were hoping to line it up with Back to School. This was going to be our Back to School book. C'est la vie. So we're revisiting a high school.
Yeah.
It's also an incredibly banned book. According to the American Library Association, it was third.
Oh, wow.
The third most banned or challenged book in 2024, tied with The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison.
Wow.
So there were
getting up there on the list.
35 challenges that year, which I thought was exceptionally high.
Well, I mean, it's only going to get worse as the next 3 years tick away.
Yeah, right. And like right up there, once you're in the mid 30s, like the number one only has 39, number two only has 38. So like it's right up there.
Wow. And I mean, so we've gone through the first two parts for this podcast episode. And I mean, aside from a few kind of little scenes, I haven't found anything really that, objectionable or, that you might see in some of these regular challenges.
Oh, well, I mean, I have.
You're
zeroed
in on. I mean, we there's definitely some things, but nothing that is so overly egregious that it would be banned.
But if you're coming from the perspective of, I don't want my children to be aware of anything that is troubling. We've got abuse. We've got suicide. We've got drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
We have sex.
Yeah.
We have blowjobs.
Yeah.
We have...
a rapey blowjob.
A rapey blowjob. We have someone watching the rapey blowjob.
Yeah.
Like, none of this is in graphic detail, really.
We've got homosexuality.
Repressed homosexuality.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, that's just off the top of my head.
Yeah. Okay, well.
And again, to me, it's not egregious. It's not.
Yeah.
To me, this is what literature is all about, is like talking
Yeah.
about what the reality of life is. And this is the reality of life for many high school students.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people who don't want their kids to be aware that that is the reality.
Mhm.
Instead, I guess they'd rather they just stumble into those things unprepared for them.
Yeah.
That's so much better. So Wikipedia describes The Perks of Being a Wallflower as a 1999 young adult novel by American author Stephen Chbosky. Set in the early 1990s, the novel follows Charlie, an introverted and observant teenager, through his freshman year of high school in a Pittsburgh suburb. The novel details Charlie's unconventional style of thinking as he navigates between the worlds of adolescence and adulthood, and attempts to deal with poignant questions spurred by his interactions with both his friends and family.
Mhm.
Chbosky took 5 years to develop and publish The Perks of Being a Wallflower, creating the characters and other aspects of the story from his own memories. The novel addresses themes permeating adolescence, including sexuality, drug use, rape, and mental health, while also making several references to other literary works, films, and pop culture, such as To Kill a Mockingbird, This Side of Paradise, On the Road, and The Catcher in the Rye, along with plays like Hamlet and the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah.
Because of the mentioned themes, it was banned in some American schools for its content. You betcha. I also thought it was incredibly interesting that the film adaptation was both written and directed by Chbosky,
Oh, really?
which is not common to
No,
have
yeah.
your novelist
Actually do the screenplay and direct.
direct, particularly. I mean, some novelists have gone on and done their
Yeah.
own screenplays, but directing is pretty rare. So we are planning to watch the film as part of our overall discussion when we get to our wrap-up episode.
Yeah.
But for now, let's have a look at what Wikipedia has to say about the censorship. The Perks of Being a Wallflower has appeared 7 times on the American Library Association's list of 10 most frequently challenged books for its content. 2004, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2013, 2014, 2022, and 2023, and also 2024, as I said, where it was the 4th most banned book, or 3rd most banned book.
Congratulations,
Congratulations.
Stephen. You've done it.
Additionally, it was the 10th most banned and challenged book between 2000 and 2009, and the 14th most banned and challenged book between 2010 and 2019. Reasons for censorship include content considered to be anti-family, sexually explicit, and content involving homosexuality, offensive language, drugs, and alcohol, nudity, descriptions of masturbation, and suicide.
Oh, yeah. We forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There have been multiple pushes in the U.S. to move Perks to the adult section. Parents have raised issues with the novel for its pornographic content. I'm going to put pornographic in air quotes because they're quoted, and vulgarity also in air quotes. But others have argued that the book deals with real and common teen issues concerned with growing up, so it presents a truthful viewpoint.
Yeah.
In 2013, the Glen Ellen District 41 School Board in suburban Chicago unanimously voted to reinstate the novel after it was moved from 8th grade classrooms at Hadley Junior High School because of a parent's objection to its sexual content. This is a quote from Stephen Chbosky in Word Riot in 2011. I didn't write it to be challenged. I didn't write it to be a controversial book. I can't really take it as a point of pride because it was banned someplace. The first time it happened, it was, well, exciting isn't the right word, but I thought, wow, it's getting all this attention. And I did think it was kind of exciting that it was being talked about that way. But after a time, you start to realize that the argument was always the same. I no longer find the argument exciting, and it's certainly not a matter of pride. It's more of mourning the fact that people can't agree to disagree and people can't find common ground. The people who object for moral reasons cannot see the value of the book, and the people who see the value of the book don't realize why it's upsetting to more religious people. Which is
That's
interesting,
fair. Yeah.
an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
It was also banned in Belarus in April 2025. The Lukashenko regime added the book to the list of printed publications containing information, messages, and materials, the distribution of which could harm the national interests of Belarus. So there you go.
International.
Yeah, so it is a book that covers challenging topics.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
I think it's important for kids as they grow up to have literature that
Speaks to their experience.
speaks to their experience
Yeah.
and discusses those more challenging topics.
Yeah. Well, like I was saying before, like I almost didn't really notice how many things, that were maybe objectionable were in this book because it's it just seems so naturally like, what is going on in high school, right?
Yeah.
Like these are things that, almost, maybe not every single thing mentioned in the book, but a good amount of these are happening to almost every kid that's going through high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going to a party, seeing
Mm-hmm.
drug use, having family issues, seeing different sexualities, like this is happening everywhere. Suicide, all that kind of stuff, mental health, especially these days, like this is happening all over for kids in high school. So yeah, it took me you reading off that list to even go, oh yeah, like these are things that are actually potentially objectionable.
Yeah.
I
mean, I guess we become a little bit desensitized to it as well
Sure,
as we.
sure, but
this is pretty minor compared to some of the things we've
it
covered.
seemed very naturally high school though, like where
Yeah.
you're kind of like, oh yeah, you're going to the party, and like it just seemed very,
honest,
and just that's what happens. Like, there's nothing really out of the ordinary here aside from maybe Charlie's, viewpoint.
Which I do want to briefly touch on by reading the first couple of sentences of the book to sort of give you a sense of the narrator that we're experiencing and the person that the story is being told through. And the book is a series of letters that are being written to an unknown.
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially a diary, I think, because he doesn't really identify this person that he's kind of writing to.
It does imply that there is a person, a specific person. I don't know at this point, like, I don't know if the letters are being sent. Like, they could be he's writing them and just tucking them in his drawer. But this is the first few sentences. August 25th, 1991. Dear friend, I am writing to you because she said you listen and understand and didn't try to sleep with that person at that party, even though you could have. Please don't try to figure out who she is, because then you might figure out who I am, and I really don't want you to do that. I will call people by different names or generic names because I don't want you to find me. I didn't enclose a return address for the same reason. I mean nothing bad by this, honest. I just need to know that someone out there listens and understands and doesn't try to sleep with people even if they could have. I need to know that these people exist.
Yeah. And I think, like, as we get deeper into these stories, right? I mean, essentially, as the reader, we kind of become this person in terms of how we read these things. But we do get a sense that Charlie is a little bit different from your average high schooler, certainly in terms of how he, thinks about situations, how he interacts socially, and then how he, actually writes these down.
Yeah.
And how he communicates them to this unnamed reader. And so, yeah, we take that role on, and he's an interesting fellow, but he also has, some mental health issues and, social interaction issues.
He's very quick to tears for someone his age. He was very emotional.
Yeah.
I think we did kind of discuss before, we were officially recording that he seems like he might be on the spectrum.
Yeah.
But, I don't know that that's, like, at this point, it's not been explicitly stated.
No, we just get
more
kind of clues from how he writes and how he describes himself in these high school situations, which, as we've noted, are fairly common to us, but for him are either tough to understand sometimes, or, he feels out of place, or, doesn't really fit into the experience in the way that we would think a normal high school kid would. So, I mean, it definitely kind of gives us kind of clues that he has maybe something in the, autism spectrum, or, some other challenges. And he does describe a little bit of mental health issues as well, related to, how he deals with his friend and who's committed suicide, which we get into pretty early.
Yeah, that's sort of one of the first things that we find out in this first part, the August 25th chapter, is that he has a friend who has recently killed himself.
Yeah.
He sort of learns about it at school. There's this announcement, this person has passed away.
Yeah.
And then, word gets around that he had killed himself. And then we also learn about his Aunt Helen, who has also recently died. I don't know if Helen's death comes up in this chapter or if that's something that comes up a little bit later.
I think it's a bit later, but
But yeah, there even in this chapter though, there's a sense of something around Aunt Helen. She comes to live with them for a time. Something bad happened to her.
Yeah.
Nothing is really sort of discussed about what that is. It's just this kind of elephant in the room kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, we also get the impression that Charlie would not be necessarily trusted with those details in the family, right? He wouldn't be the first person to be kind of told all the things happening within the family dynamic. But yeah, I mean, we clearly get the sense that he is a little different than the other kids in terms of how he reacts to the news of Michael's suicide, right? With the screaming out in school during the kind of counseling session.
Yeah.
And, he's definitely affected in a different way than we see from some of the other students.
The next bit takes place on September 7th, or is written on September 7th. And again, this is just sort of a little bit more about Charlie's experience at school. He doesn't really feel like he belongs. He sort of swings back and forth between being sort of quiet and reserved and then also lashing out at the kids who tease him.
Yeah, so he kind of gets, I don't know, pushed too far or whatever it is, but I think like when the switch is flipped for him, right, he doesn't really know how to stop, right? And so I think the kid that was picking on him was, bigger and, like ostensibly, stronger and whatever. But Charlie is kind of merciless, I think. And yeah, he like kicks the crap out of this kid. And then he's probably not getting bullied so much after that, right? Like he really hurts this kid. And, I think he was describing like he could have continued to hurt him and maybe should have, I think he thinks. And there's other points in the book where he thinks about hurting people in a similar way and maybe decides against it. But we find out that he can look after himself,
if need be.
If need be. And he's a force to be reckoned with potentially, even against much, bigger, people.
Yeah. We also learn about a bit more about his family. He has a sister who is a senior in high school, and he has a brother who has graduated and now plays football at Penn State.
Yeah, like he's got a football scholarship, I think, right? Like he's,
Moving on to September 11th and September 16th. The family watches the brothers' game on television.
Which is pretty interesting. So, like, when you go play football in university, if you've just graduated, you are not usually going to play in a game, right? So he must be quite talented if he's actually, taking the field in his freshman year in university for Penn State. I mean, he must be quite
a decent player,
right? We know he's got a scholarship and everything, but yeah, to actually take the field is pretty impressive. So, and we do find out he was, he's pretty talented, but yeah, like that, I think speaks quite a bit that his older brother is quite the kind of football star.
Yep. Charlie gets assigned To Kill a Mockingbird to read in English class, and his teacher kind of notices that Charlie is a voracious reader and starts to assign extra books to Charlie.
Yep.
Just to sort of keep him, I think, interested and to keep him, to exercise his brain. Like he absorbs these books quickly. He mentions that they're only given so many pages to read at a time. But he doesn't like reading that way.
He likes to read a book in one shot.
He wants to read the whole thing.
And then reread it.
Yeah. So he's tearing through these books, and the teacher is like, all right, well, let's give you some extra stuff.
And so his English teacher, Bill, is also kind of a bit of a mentor as well. Like he has conversations outside of class, with this teacher, not just about books, but kind of about life on a few occasions. So, this teacher we see as a bit more of kind of like that mentor figure. So yeah, he's assigning books and Charlie's doing additional book reports on all of these extra books too. But we do get a sense that, maybe some of the books that get assigned and things are, a little bit meant to help Charlie maybe look at the world and look at high school, in a little bit of a different way that he maybe can't at the moment. So I like the kind of mentorship, kind of trying to help him deal with high school and that kind of thing that this teacher Bill is trying to bring to Charlie. Yeah.
There's also a scene where Charlie sees his sister and his sister's boyfriend
Yeah.
kind of together. And initially the boyfriend seemed like a kind of a sweet guy. But in this one moment, he hits the sister hard across the face.
Well, and because she's been just like nagging on him and just speaking to him really terribly.
I see you're on his side.
Well, I mean, this is how Charlie describes it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That she's just nagging him and like just picking at him over and over again. And so, yeah, he gets to a point where, rather than walking away or just saying like, stop or whatever, he lashes out physically. And we do have some background. I don't know if he's already described it yet or it comes up a little bit later, but that Charlie's father was abused or hit a bunch by his father. And he's made this kind of conscious decision to not, hit his kids and to, never kind of go down that path. Right. And so,
although it does happen once.
It does happen once.
That his dad hits him when he was bugging Aunt Helen about what happened to her.
Yeah.
I mean, it was that stop.
And that's where we kind of find out, I think, a little bit of that history of his father. But yeah, so there is a maybe a bit of a touch point in the family around, abuse and around, physical violence within the family. So yeah, so boyfriend gets up and smacks Charlie's sister, after being antagonized. And this somehow like gets her horny.
It does seem to improve the sister's relationship with the boyfriend.
Yeah, she now maybe sees him as more manly or something. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah. And then is it later in this same thing that he sees them having sex, I think, in the basement?
I don't know if that's here or not. The sister does make Charlie promise. She finds out that he saw it and he makes him promise not to tell.
Not to tell her parents.
Yes, exactly.
So this is the thing with Charlie is that, he definitely is thinks a little differently. Right?
Yeah.
So when she says don't tell parents, he goes, okay.
Yeah.
And so later on he tells somebody else who is not their parents.
September 18th and September 29th, Charlie gets a C on his essay on To Kill a Mockingbird, essentially because, the teacher's trying to push him to work harder.
Yeah. Well, and to dig out more of the message of these books, right?
Yeah. Like, don't just write about the surface.
Yeah. Don't just podcast about the surface. I mean, write about the surface of what's going on, right?
Are you insinuating that we're just doing surface discussions?
No, I'm just kidding.
And then there's some reminiscences about watching television with his family.
Yeah.
Particularly the finale of MASH.
Yeah.
Which I think anyone who was alive at that time has some memory of because it was, and I think remains, the most watched episode of television of all time.
Yeah, like I think if you keep it in terms of the population at the time or something like that.
I think even if you don't take that into account.
there's been other stuff I think since then.
But yeah, this was at a time when there weren't a whole lot of things to watch.
That's true.
This
is
the
fewer the channels, the easier it is to get good ratings,
right?
I think.
This is a long running and very popular series.
Yeah.
And so when it finally came to an end, there were people who, like, everybody kind of wanted to tune in. I was a kid.
Yeah, me too. I remember it.
I do too.
Vaguely, But yeah, I mean, it kind of makes him reminisce a little bit about his Aunt Helen, who he seems very close with. We don't know too much about Aunt Helen and kind of what happened to her, but she and Charlie seem to have a kind of, special relationship that was maybe a little different from the rest of the family, right?
There's also a moment in that memory of the MASH finale of sort of Charlie, I think, seeing his dad get emotional for the first time.
Yeah.
Midway or at some point in the finale, his dad gets up and says he's going to go make a sandwich.
Yeah, which he never does.
Never does unless it's like a commercial break or something. And so Charlie, I think, gets a sense that there's something odd about this and follows his dad into the kitchen and sees his dad crying.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
which I don't think he's really ever seen before. Yeah.
And there's a moment of sort of like, this is just between you and me there, bud. And they go back in and it does make you, it gives that sense of like there being complicated issues around masculinity in this family.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Mm-hmm. Obviously.
Yeah. We already have touched on that with kind of his father's abuse and that kind of thing. But and we do get a sense of it too with Charlie's mother, who is described as kind of like quiet and reserved, but every now and then will speak up and kind of like finalize the point kind of thing. And otherwise dad is kind of the one who is, disciplinary or what have you. But yeah, definitely feels a lot more kind of nuclear family, I guess, and those complexities.
October 6th and October 14th, we meet two new characters, two seniors who befriend Charlie. We have Patrick, who is initially known as Nothing.
Yeah.
Because he was being given like a bad nickname, or were they calling him?
No, because something to do with like Patrick, but Patty, like because Irish folk like they would call Patrick Patty, and so he would say, "Call me Patrick or Nothing."
Yeah, well, because they were giving him the wrong name.
Yeah, well, because he didn't like. Well, and it wasn't just some kind of nickname, but yeah, just the kind of traditional,
Patty,
Patty.
Yeah,
and so then they started calling me Patrick or Nothing, and so they started calling him Nothing.
Although, and that's what Charlie refers to him as at first, because he doesn't actually know really what his real name is.
That's right.
And also Sam, who is a girl and Patrick's sister.
Yeah.
And Charlie pretty immediately starts to have a crush.
Oh, yeah.
On Sam, but he's too shy to do anything about it. He also discovers that Patrick is secretly dating this guy named Brad, who's on the football team, I believe, right?
I think that's at the party, is that?
It might be. Yeah.
I think that's when they go to the party.
It's when they go to the party.
But I think before that is Charlie tells Sam that, after, I think it's like the next time after he meets her that he had a dream, like a sex dream about her.
Yeah, because it was from when he did see his sister and his sister's boyfriend kind of banging downstairs. Yeah. Her legs spread and the boyfriend between them sort of thing. Now he has a sex dream where he sees the same thing, except it's him and Sam.
Yeah.
And she
seems to take it pretty
well. Yeah, and that's wild, is the honesty and openness to which he's just like, oh, by the way, I had this dream about you.
But he's also, this freshman in high school hanging out with seniors.
Yeah.
I think they, obviously, I think people know that he is a little different than your average kid. And I don't know if they took pity on him or they're just kind of really, really nice people, or they maybe, don't have that big of a friend group, but he gels into their world relatively quickly. I think through his frankness and honesty and like unconventional approach to communicating.
Yeah, and I think to some extent they're outcasts themselves in their own way. I don't know that they're necessarily like seeing the world in the same way that Charlie is, but they recognize that outcast nature of Charlie and sort of, I think, embrace him.
Kind of bring him into their fold. Yeah.
Patrick does give Charlie the advice about girls, including not blurting out your sex dreams about them.
Yeah.
That's maybe not the best approach.
Yeah. He's got to learn these things, right?
Yep.
So then this comes back to our mentorship guy, Bill.
Yeah, Bill, the English teacher.
So Charlie's kind of talking about some of this with Bill, and then he mentions what happened to his sister, and he feels okay about, because
he only promised not to tell the parent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Bill, being this, good teacher, decides
to call
Charlie's parents and go through this. Yeah.
Charlie gets home that night and realizes immediately what has happened.
Yeah.
And he feels pretty bad about it. And his sister's pretty mad about it.
Her sister's really mad at him about it.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Because the parents have forbidden the sister from seeing this dude.
Yeah.
And she calls Charlie a freak.
Yeah.
October 15th and 28th.
Yeah.
Charlie gets to learn about masturbation.
Yeah.
And
he's 15, right?
He's 15.
He's a little late to the game, but
a little late to the game. Yeah. But it's never too late, really. Better late than never.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah,
never too late to take up masturbation.
If you still haven't tried it out, let me say there are
worse
ways to spend an afternoon, let me tell you that. Not listening to this podcast. I mean, listening to this podcast is a great way. But as soon as you're done and you're bored.
And if you're masturbating to this podcast.
We want to know.
Yeah, let us know. Yeah, he's getting into it. Getting into masturbating.
Yeah, doing it a bunch.
Yeah.
He sort of confides in the letter to our unknown person that he's been trying to participate more in life, get out and do things.
Yeah.
He goes out to the homecoming football game and hangs out with Patrick and Sam and pretends, just for fun, that it's years in the future and he's graduated and he's now come back for the homecoming game. And, as
one does.
As one does, it has like this little fake conversation with Patrick and Sam.
Yeah, and they play right along with it.
Haven't seen you guys in years.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da. And then they all head off to a post-game party.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie has a flashback to a big party that his brother had at their house once, where
a legendary party
where he kind of accidentally watched a girl get date raped.
Yeah, so he was, for whatever reason, he liked to be in like the room where everyone, threw their coats on the bed or whatever.
What it was, I think, is like he was told to just stay in your room.
Yeah.
But that room ended up being used for where everyone put their coats.
Yeah.
And Charlie was entertaining himself by like just rifling through the pockets.
Yeah, just checking out what people had.
Yeah. And at varying points over the night, these different couples would pop in and see if there was anybody in there that they could go in and like make out. And then
they'd see Charlie and
just move on.
Yeah.
Until this one couple comes in and they're sort of like, do you guys mind if we like make out in here?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. He's like, I was told to stay in the room.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I have no other instructions, so do what you want.
So this couple comes in and they start making out. And then, like, as the making out intensifies, the girl is more and more like, no.
And she's like, there's a guy in here.
There's a guy in here watching
yeah, what are you doing?
But eventually, she's sort of like,
she's forced into
and coerced and forced
blowjob. Yeah,
into giving a blowjob, and sort of Charlie is just now kind of realizing what that was that he was witness to.
Yeah, because I think he tells Sam about this later on in kind of their private time and then he kind of goes, he raped her, didn't he? And Sam was like, yeah.
And then the next day, Charlie goes to the car of the guy who had done this years ago and punctures his tires.
Yeah.
This weird delayed act of,
because he had this thought, right? So we already know he can take care of himself, and he had this thought of like, I'm gonna like really hurt this guy, right? Which we know he could do,
right?
And then instead he kind of maybe walks himself back a little bit from that and goes, what's something else that I can do? Or does he talk with Patrick about it maybe? And Patrick kind of says, hey, like maybe not that, maybe something else.
I think it might have been Sam that said,
or maybe, yeah. So his essentially, kind of walked back revenge instead of, kicking the crap out of this kid is, I'm going to go, slash his tires.
Yep.
Which I mean, karma served, I guess.
Yeah. Date rape, puncture
slash
tires.
Yeah, right. Those are equivalent. In 1990s,
the scales of justice are even there.
No, I didn't say complete, but
step in the right direction.
Yeah, that's right.
When I'm struggling with it.
Well, so they go to the homecoming dance too, right? And
right.
So,
right.
At the party, Charlie also walks in on Patrick and Brad, the quarterback, right, and sees them making out. And Brad is freaked out because he's starting a football team and definitely wants to not have this out. And Patrick's kind of like, no, Charlie's cool. And I would imagine that people in the school probably know a little bit about Charlie, being different. So anyway, Patrick kind of talks Brad down, but at the homecoming dance, Brad is seen, kind of dancing with his girlfriend and, kind of playing the role.
Girlfriend. Yeah,
exactly.
Playing the role. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it does end up coming out in a bit more detail later about how, like, basically Brad and Patrick are only ever able to sort of hook up in these not really underground, but like the less cool parties.
Yeah,
the parties where just the losers are at.
Yeah.
Which it feels a little bit like the relationship between Charlie and some of the people in Heartstopper. Yeah. And then we have the I Feel Infinite.
Well, we do have like the namesake of the book happen at this party.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Because Charlie is, he's having fun, he's hanging out, but he, as much as he's participating in life,
he gets stoned.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does get stoned.
He gets pretty
well.
stoned.
Yeah, but he doesn't interact in the same way as kind of everyone else, right? And so Patrick calls him a wallflower. right?
Yeah.
Not in a mean way or anything like that, but just someone who is there but not really participating in the same way, and right. So that's where we get the sense of part of how the title of this book came together, right? In the sense that this friend group that he's kind of been accepted into, he is still kind of on the outside and a wallflower, right? And so well, I guess we'll see how that develops later in the book and what perks he does get, but we do get one in the first couple parts of this book.
On the way from the party, so like on the way to the party, they're in the car and they're listening to a song, and Charlie says that he feels infinite. And then it happens again as they're leaving, where Sam, I think, is in the back of is it a truck or?
Yeah, it's a truck, and she's like in the bed, standing up, kind of like surfing. I guess while they're driving around, and
as they go through this tunnel, and they're listening to music, and Charlie feels infinite again. And I don't know,
the way he describes it is quite sweet, right?
And I found myself like kind of relating to those sorts of moments, where, for whatever reason, the combination of
the music, the emotion, the people, the company,
and it just feels significant. It feels like it could last forever. It feels, all those sorts of things. And again, when it comes to books like this, I think that's where they really strike me, is when they can talk about these sort of profound moments and describe them in a way that brings them home for you and makes you go, I've been there.
Yeah.
For the good and the bad.
Yep.
And I think that is the end of part 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, all things considered, Charlie's friend group has embraced him.
Yeah.
Things are going relatively well. He's got a little bit of conflict with his sister, I guess. But, things are looking not bad for Charlie as kind of this high school freshman with his own kind of unique things.
I think, he's been told at this point that, Sam is too old for him.
Yeah.
So you don't.
And Sam, is very upfront about it.
She's very kind about it as well.
Yeah.
But like he's been encouraged to not think of her that way.
And he's working on it.
He's working on it. He's working on it. There's a few points through this where he's like, I'm trying not to think of her that way, but she looks really good. It's really hard. But to his credit, he is trying.
Yeah.
So we're at November 7th at the beginning of part 2. Charlie's having a better time at school because of his relationship with Patrick and Sam.
And like Patrick and Sam have their own little group as well.
Exactly. So he's starting to expand his friendship.
Yeah, and he seems to get along with, like, he goes to these parties and hangs out with these people, and they kind of accept him as well. Maybe not as much as Patrick and Sam do, but
or as quickly.
Yeah, but he's kind of part of that as well, right?
He meets Mary Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm.
He learns about how Patrick and Brad met and sort of their history of party hookups and stuff, their relationship, and how kind of like the first time they hooked up, Brad had to be drunk enough to be able to pretend he didn't remember what happened
at the party. Yeah, and then the next few parties were kind of like that, where he would say, "Oh, I was." But he would act more than he was.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think as like this defense mechanism, if somebody found out, then he could say, "Oh, I was wasted," or whatever. But eventually, he gets through that.
Well, it's at those safer parties.
Yeah.
Where they are able to have a more open connection.
Yeah.
And Patrick says at one point, like, he didn't have to get shit-faced in order to like have sex with me, and that was nice.
Yeah.
Which valid.
Yeah. I mean, man, if I met more women like that.
November 8th, Charlie has now gotten a B on his most recent essay.
And again, these are the essays that are outside of the regular
these are
school
the bonus work that he's doing as this teacher is giving him.
He's doing quite well in school on the actual stuff, but in terms of these additional essays and reporting that he's doing for Bill,
like he's getting better. His actual report cards are A's. Like he's just doing brilliantly in school. But these side projects, they're a bit more. They're being rated a bit harder because again, it's about getting him to dig deeper into the material and into himself.
Yeah, and you could almost see that Bill is probably grading these in a much different way, right? In terms of what his feedback is
Yep,
around,
totally.
Participation and really getting at the questions of life rather than, what they were potentially doing in class of what's the theme and blah, 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 right?
Charlie gets into publishing a little bit. He starts helping
Yeah.
out with a Rocky Horror based fanzine called Punk Rocky.
Yeah, and that's Mary Elizabeth.
That's Mary Elizabeth.
Who was the editor in chief, I think,
yeah,
right?
and is also in charge of the regular Rocky Horror Picture Show screenings.
Mm-hmm. Which Charlie likes. He likes seeing people dress up, and he likes them, shouting out the lines and, doing all
he
the...
particularly likes when Sam is in her outfit as Janet. And Sam, we find out now, is going out with a man named Craig, who's in his 20s and a male model.
Mm-hmm.
And so Charlie is a little bit hurt by this, a little bit jealous of this.
Yeah. Although he's trying not to be.
He's trying not to be. He's trying very hard. November 12th and November 15th, Charlie talks about a science experiment that indicated that rats would put up with a lot more pain for intense pleasure than for food.
Yeah.
And like many of the things in this book, that's just kind of information that's dropped without a lot of context. And it's
well, and that's the nature of the communication in this book too, right? Is these letters that Charlie will focus in on one thing and we don't, as of yet, have kind of maybe the full picture, the full context.
Yeah.
But certainly we can see some parallels to his relationship with Sam here, right? In terms of the, the putting up with pain for the pleasure rather than sustenance or something else. So, like that parallel is pretty clear. But if there's something else that we're going to see, relating to this later in the book, it's not clear right now for sure. Oh, and Charlie's brother, who's away at Penn State playing football, isn't coming home
right for it's Charlie's birthday or something.
Yeah,
I mean, he's supposed to be coming home, but he won't be able to make it, or at least initially it looks that way.
Well, I think we get the sense like he comes home for Christmas,
right?
But I think Thanksgiving and some of the other holidays and birthdays, he's just too busy because he's playing on the football team, but he also has homework and stuff.
Yeah,
and, probably parties and girls too. You'd imagine at university, right?
Charlie, likes to imagine during this, he's imagining that his brother's having this fantastic college life.
Yeah.
And the way that he describes this is quite entertaining, like picturing his brother falling in love with a girl who's not conventionally attractive.
That's right. Yeah.
And likes to drink cocoa.
Yeah.
And like all of these, it feels very much like Charlie is creating his own fantasy of what he wants and applying it to his brother. And then he spends some time thinking about like this idea of glory days as a young person. And like, is his brother experiencing his glory days at university? He thinks about his dad's glory days and thinks about like, am I living my glory days right now too?
Am I going to look back on this and think these were my glory days?
Yeah. Which is a weirdly mature thing to be thinking about at that age, I think.
Yeah.
Even though in many ways Charlie's not particularly mature.
Yeah, he's an interesting character in that sense where he can have rather complex thoughts and see things in a long term or a very macro view, but in certain basic social things he seems kind of oblivious to things. So yeah, he's definitely an interesting character in that sense. But yeah, I mean this kind of questioning of other people's lives and how they're going to see that later and the potential impact on his own life, really interesting and mature for him. But one thing about Charlie is that he is very much, I think, optimistic for people. Whenever he's imagining someone else, he's always wanting them to be having a good time or to be, happy. And, he's always like, well, I hope that kid is happy now. Or, so he definitely is optimistic, I think, in that sense and wants people to be having a good time. And, he's always, well, I hope they're good or I hope they're happy now. Or, so that I think is neat. And certainly I think helps, when he's looking at the future, when he thinks about what life may be, right? He's got a kind of optimistic spin on it.
He does. November 18th, this is when Charlie's brother officially bails on coming home for Thanksgiving because he's too busy, which makes Charlie's mom upset. So she takes Charlie shopping. They go shopping for some clothes.
Little retail therapy.
Yeah. Which always works.
Yeah.
She suggests that maybe Sam and Patrick come over for dinner after the holidays, and Charlie's kind of excited about that because he doesn't have people over very often. And the last person he had over for dinner was Michael, which does not so much textually, but does sort of remind us of this suicide that is still kind of hanging over the story a little bit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And we don't know exactly the kind of
the
reasoning for it, and like the nature of their relationship, right? From Charlie's perspective, they were great friends,
right?
Michael and he, but we don't know, like, was that kind of more one-sided, or were they very, very good friends, right? Or like, we don't have those full details of what Charlie and Michael's relationship was. We know he's very upset and that he was basically Charlie's kind of only friend.
Yeah.
But we don't know too much more about that.
November 23rd, we find out that the holidays are always kind of difficult for Charlie and his family because it reminds them of Aunt Helen.
Yeah.
And everyone kind of deals with the stress and sadness of in their own way. And we get kind of a glimpse into what that looks like for the family.
Yeah. So, Charlie's mother's family, her grandfather basically always kind of gets drunk and starts a fight. And then with Charlie's dad's family, it's a little bit kind of a different story. And they talk about giving thanks for everything. And, there Charlie's thankful that nobody fought.
Well, that's the thing is they were watching a videotape of Charlie's brother playing football.
Yeah.
And it was
a little different than what they normally would do. Right?
Yeah. So everybody was quiet. Yeah. Everybody, like, nobody was fighting. And so that specifically is what Charlie was thankful for, that everybody was watching the video
and that nobody
could fight. Yeah. And everybody, like, after that at the table was sort of like awkwardly silent, except for it was like the great aunt or something who normally would hide in the bathroom and cry after the grandfather would say something. But this time, because that didn't happen, she's at the table and she just says, "Amen."
Yeah.
It's kind of hilarious. Now we have a bunch of December 7th, December 11th, December 19th, and December 21st.
Yeah. And this is kind of like, now Christmas. Getting into the Christmas holiday kind of preparation, we talk about like the Secret Santa thing. So Charlie gets Patrick for Secret Santa, and I think he thinks that what's her name, Mary Elizabeth?
Oh yeah. He thinks she is his Secret Santa.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but so he has some. I mean, I feel like Charlie would be a good guy to have as your Secret Santa.
He has such thoughtful gifts.
Yeah,
insanely thoughtful. He starts with a mixtape.
Yeah.
Which he's big on mixtapes.
Yeah. Well, because it was his sister that gave him a mixtape at some point?
Because the boyfriend gave her a mixtape.
Oh, yeah. Her
and then
taboo
she was like,
boyfriend.
"Fuck, whatever."
Yeah.
This was before he slapped her, so she didn't like him very much.
That's right.
So she gave the mixtape to Charlie.
And Charlie
who
really
fell in love with it,
yeah.
and particularly like some of the bands and some of the music. And now he's really into this idea of like
making mixtapes
and just creating a theme through song. And like he goes through the whole track listing. And like he's even like, this is side 1, but side 2 is the one I think is really a masterpiece, and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And when he's receiving his stuff, the first thing he gets is a pair of socks, and then gradually starts to get...
He's getting like a suit
bit by bit.
Built for him, yeah.
The next gift he gets for Patrick is a biography of Harvey Milk, who was a...
Really apropos.
A gay politician in, I think, it was in California.
Like San Francisco.
I want to say San Francisco,
yeah.
but that's just because it has that gay reputation, I think.
Yeah.
But maybe it was. Maybe that's why
they say in the book.
They do, but I don't remember.
I think that's why.
And then at the Secret Santa party, Charlie reads a poem.
This is his final gift.
Yeah.
He reads this poem.
And the poem is included in the book, and it's a sad fucking poem.
Well, Charlie says he doesn't know who the author is.
Yeah.
Right? And he reads this poem, and it is a sad poem, particularly kind of how it ends.
Yeah.
But I think we get the sense, because the room is kind of like quiet after, and like people are not stunned per se, but it may be introspective, or one kid says, I think I've maybe heard it before, or something
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
But we get the impression that this is something that Michael has told Charlie, and that potentially it may have been
Oh,
written by Michael.
I did not catch that at all.
Yeah, because there's some mention somewhere about Michael having a suicide note or something like that, and Michael, I believe, I think we get directly that Michael told this to Charlie, or turned him onto it, or whatever it was. But yeah, so at least that's the impression I got, that this was potentially something Michael had been thinking about for a while, had told to Charlie, and potentially like wrote down as a suicide note at some point. So it hits the crowd pretty strong.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I mean, quite the gift.
Yeah, totally. And then Charlie gets the rest of his suit. Turns out that Patrick was his Secret Santa, and explains the reason for the suit is that all great writers used to wear suits.
That's right.
And since Charlie is trying to be a writer, working towards being a writer, he's got to have one.
Yeah. Well, and then when does he get the typewriter?
I think the typewriter is from Sam.
Okay, yeah.
Before that happens, though, there's a bit more like people just giving additional presents to other people.
And Charlie has brought gifts for just everybody. Yeah.
For example, he gives Mary Elizabeth some money with a little note saying, like, to print your zine in color next time, which is like shocking to her. But again, also, what a cool gift.
Yeah.
Like really zeroing in on what she cares about and helping her bring that to the next level. Charlie gives Sam a record that Aunt Helen had given to him. So again, that's got an emotional connection for him. Sam whispers to Charlie that she loves him. And then she gives him a typewriter and gives Charlie his first kiss.
Well, that happens a little bit later. So they get some alone time.
Yeah.
And talks about, the fact that she's dating Craig, and she's getting, I think, I don't know if it's kind of like the emotion stirred up by the poem that he wrote or what, but Sam has
That's
a very,
big part of it, I think.
She has a very protectionist kind of inclination towards Charlie as well. And so the reason, she kind of explains to Charlie, well, I know we can't be together and you're too young for me, and, kind of all the reasons. But then she also says, I want to make sure that your first kiss is from someone that loves you, and really looking out for him and his interests, and wanting it to be special, right, for him.
I'm trying to find it because I wanted to read it because I thought it was really incredibly well.
So yeah, I mean, we're right near the end of part 2 here.
Oh, shit. It's also worth noting, it didn't come up in these notes, that when Aunt Helen died, it was Christmas time.
Yeah.
And she was, I think, the only one that would buy, because Charlie's birthday is right near Christmas.
Yeah. And she was the only one to buy him two presents. Yeah.
And she was leaving the house to go and buy his present when she died. And to a very large extent, Charlie feels like it's his fault that she died, that like if she wasn't going then for that other present, she would still be around.
Yeah. As a December baby, I felt that one. Yeah. So the other thing that Sam tells Charlie is about her own like abusive childhood from her father. And that's part of the reason, I think, as well, that she wants to protect Charlie and his innocence, is that, she suffered her first kiss, her first kiss was her father's friend who abused her when she was like 11 or something like that. And so she kind of wants to spare Charlie from anything kind of untoward in terms of some of his first experiences.
Yeah. So, yeah, this is just after she's given him the typewriter, and there's like a single piece of blank white paper in it. On that piece of white paper, Sam wrote, "Write about me sometime." And I typed something back to her standing right there in her bedroom. I just typed, "I will." And I felt very good that those were the first 2 words that I ever typed on my new old typewriter that Sam gave to me. We just sat there quiet for a moment, and she smiled, and I moved to the typewriter again, and I wrote something. I love you too. And Sam looked at the paper, and she looked at me. Charlie, have you ever kissed a girl? I shook my head no. It was so quiet. Not even when you were little? I shook my head no again, and she looked very sad. She told me about the first time she was kissed. She told me that it was with one of her dad's friends. She was 7, and she told nobody about it except for Mary Elizabeth and then Patrick a year ago. And she started to cry, and she said something that I won't forget, ever. I know that you know that I like Craig, and I know that I told you not to think of me that way, and I know that we can't be together like that, but I want to forget all those things for a minute, okay? Okay. I want to make sure that the first person you kiss loves you, okay? Okay. She was crying harder now, and I was too, because when I hear something like that, I just can't help it. I just want to make sure of that, okay? Okay. And she kissed me. It was the kind of kiss that I could never tell my friends about out loud. It was the kind of kiss that made me know that I was never so happy in my whole life. And I think that whole scene, like...
Hang on, I got to go make a sandwich.
Right?
Yeah.
There's so much being unsaid about Sam in that scene that is so, like, it's so weird how much can be said without saying things. And it is such a blow to think about this person who didn't have that.
Yeah.
And understands the beauty and the importance of that, and wanting to make sure that it happens for this kid that she cares for.
Yeah.
Just a really, really great scene.
Yeah. And then that's pretty much the end of part 2, right?
There's a few more days, actually.
Oh, are there?
We've actually not really done the Charlie family visits. December 23rd is the day before Charlie's birthday, and he's eager to get over the holidays, and they're going to go visit family, I think. And so he's bringing Catcher in the Rye along.
Right, yeah. Which Bill has now assigned. Yeah.
December 25th, Charlie is in Ohio for Christmas, where Charlie's dad lives. On his birthday, Charlie and his sister and mom go Christmas shopping. Charlie's stressing about, what to get his dad for Christmas because he can't think of anything. He finally lands on getting a video cassette of the last episode of MASH.
Yeah.
Which again, we're kind of aware of where that emotional connection comes from. On Christmas morning, before heading back to Ohio, they exchange gifts. And Charlie's brother starts talking about his girlfriend, talking about how Kelly believes in women's rights so much that she would never let a guy hit her. Oh man, this creates a whole fucking thing in the car where they fight, and they pull the car over, and the dad just turns around and is like, doesn't even say anything.
Yeah.
He's just like looking at them with him.
Yeah, just staring him down.
Right.
And Charlie being 15, he has his learner's license.
That's right. Yeah. And it becomes this whole...
So Charlie now has
to drive the rest of the way.
Has to drive the rest of the way, and the dad gets in the back between the sister and brother to make sure there's no more fighting.
Ends.
Yeah.
But that, the brother and sister do eventually apologize.
Yeah. And I think, doesn't Charlie ask, like, if Kelly is unconventionally beautiful or something like that?
And then out of the blue, he's like, does she, like, drink hot cocoa? And his brother's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
And then December 30th and January 1st, Charlie finishes Catcher in the Rye, and then he reads it 3 more times in 4 days.
Yeah. And he doesn't have to drive anywhere. And he's happy that he doesn't have to drive, because he was kind of white-knuckling that trip.
But he does spend some time on the Christmas holidays driving by himself.
Yeah, well, because he takes his test after his 16th birthday, yeah.
And then he goes and visits Aunt Helen's grave.
Yeah.
And
one thing I just wanted to talk about, like, so when he gives his dad the MASH video cassette,
yes,
his dad says he really likes it very much, and he gives Charlie like this knowing wink, right? That calls back their kind of secret, like, thing where and Charlie's never told anyone about seeing his dad cry, right? Yeah. So that was also kind of a bit of a sweet scene there.
There was a moment where I wasn't really sure how that gift would go over. Like, is it maybe not have the same degree of emotionality to the dad? Was he going to appreciate it? Was he not going to remember it?
He was there. Yeah.
So yeah, Charlie visits Aunt Helen's grave. He mentions in the letter that he's been crying a lot, and he's concerned that if it continues, he might have to go see a psychiatrist again.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this is the first time that we heard that he was attending a psychiatrist.
Well, there was at some point there's some talk where he talks about a period where he got really bad and he had to go see a doctor, right? And because he wasn't kind of functioning, and he was getting that way a little bit again in the holidays. So I don't know if it was all together in this chunk or if we had seen that earlier on. But yeah, Charlie definitely has had, I think, precipitated by Michael's death, some pretty tough things happen in his life, or at least where they've affected him in a pretty dark way. And yeah, he seems to be kind of heading that way again a little bit here over the holidays.
And then at a New Year's party, Charlie takes LSD, and that kind of is a rough time. He kind of drifts between being philosophical and feeling like the world is spinning. And he kind of ends the letter with some more sort of thoughts and conversation about suicide. And that's the end of part 2.
Yeah. Pretty rough time for Charlie.
So it's a
little darker end than part 1 where things were going so well.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of story. There's a lot of detail, and it bounces around so much.
Yeah. I mean, it, like I said before, it really does capture a lot of kind of high school related emotions and events and things, right? Dealing with family at the holidays and growing up and fighting with siblings and seeing, family fight and dealing with sexuality and dealing with, deep emotions around, whether it's your aunt or your friend or what have you, right? And how that kind of plays out and affects you, like pretty standard stuff like that most kids are going through in high school.
And I think it's important to remember that a lot of times these are the first time that people have experienced these feelings. And because of that, they can be incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
You don't have the tools to know how to moderate them, to know how to...
It can just be overwhelming.
It can be overwhelming. Yeah. And that's one of the things that I really remember from my own adolescence. And I always sort of feel myself reminded of when I read these sorts of things.
Yeah,
just how
powerful and
powerful those feelings can be, especially around, first loves.
Yeah.
Losing a friend to suicide and all the questions. And, I didn't really experience drugs when I was that age. But
they weren't as strong back then. I mean, they were still good.
Yeah, so that's the end of part 2. That's where we're going to end it today. We'll be back for part 3 and part 4 next time.
Yeah.
Let's find out a few more.
And then
Wallflowering.
We'll get the movie involved prior to our wrap up episode, our live episode. But yeah, any kind of thoughts? Well, you've read this before.
I have, but it's been about 15 years.
Yeah,
so
I've never read it. I feel like I maybe have seen the movie before, but I can't remember it at all.
I can't remember either. I've definitely seen scenes from it, and I know I've seen the driving through the tunnel being infinite moment before. I might have seen the movie after reading the book, but it's been, again, that would have been 15 years, so I really don't remember.
I mean, I think as far as predictions go, there's definitely going to be some more heavy, deep emotions, heavy teenage emotions that we're going to see. I mean, the dynamic between him and Sam and Patrick, and they're seniors. So, this is Christmas holidays. There's only half a school year left with this friend group, right? So, we're looking at potentially, graduation and leaving and splitting apart.
That's
from
probably a
very things, right? That are
very legit prediction that we might be seeing sort of the book ending near graduation and having to deal with that side of adolescence too, as these people that you've, in this case, only maybe for this 1 year, but a lot of times it's people that you've known for years and years, even growing up, and everyone's going their separate ways. And what does that do to you?
Yeah. And especially for Charlie, right? How is he going to deal with that.
Who doesn't have much.
These are his
outside of this.
cornerstone friends, right?
Although, maybe as he is meeting more people through
Yeah.
Sam and Patrick, like maybe he is building a base that will.
I hope so, but my feeling is that a lot of Sam and Patrick's friends are also seniors, right? Like Mary Elizabeth and Bob, whose house they party at, like are most likely seniors as well, and they're probably going to graduate and move on. Maybe Bob doesn't graduate, but like there's definitely going to be a good chunk of people that he knows and is used to hanging out with that are most likely going to graduate. So.
I'm predicting more drug use and more tears, not necessarily at the same time, but maybe at the same time.
Yeah.
Who knows?
It could happen. Yeah.
Who knows? That's
definitely some more, complicated relationship and potential sexuality to be dealt with. Yeah. It
should be fun.
I don't know if we'll probably see some more kind of impacts of things between Charlie and his sister. Not sure how much we'll see of kind of his brother anymore in the story and the rest of the story. Probably a few things with his mom and dad as well, but yeah, I don't know. I'm curious how Bill is going to have an impact.
Mm-hmm.
His English mentor on Charlie, and how he kind of deals with this, because he's being pushed to participate in life, and sometimes that's a two-edged blade where it can cause some real sadness. Yeah, exactly. Right. So, we'll see how that goes. But I'm excited to read the rest of this.
I'm really enjoying it again. I'd sort of forgotten. It's quite short.
Yeah.
Getting halfway through was not a super big challenge.
No,
I'd forgotten kind of how short it is.
Well, it goes relatively quick, right? I mean,
it's an easy book to read.
Yeah.
Like it is very compelling. It's very page turning. And I think some of that is because of those chapters where it is all over the place. Like he's very stream of consciousness, and this reminds me of that, and that reminds me of this.
Yeah.
And you can
you kind of get there, right? With
him. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's very much, it's an interesting head to be inside of.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, you may not always, at least for me, I wasn't always going like, I can relate to the way you're looking at things, but sometimes I was. Sometimes I was a weird kid too.
Yeah.
And I was able to sort of look at that and be like, okay, I can see myself maybe doing something like that. So yeah, shocking to anyone who knows me. I'm sure that I was maybe a weird kid. Yeah, I think that's about all we have, eh?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it for now. Tune in next time.
When
we see what happens for Charlie.
Perks of being a wallflower. You can find all of our stuff at blahblahblahmedia.com, BLAH media. My annual renewal of my domain name and all that good stuff just came up, so I can guarantee it's still there.
Right on, yeah.
Still there. All of our links to our socials, to our merch store, to our Buy Me a Coffee, to our Patreon, just all right there. If you do want to follow us on Facebook, we do post there infrequently, but like if there's schedule changes or something going on, we'll
got some
usually
followers on there.
We've got some followers. And if you ever want to know, like in advance of a live episode, that's the best place to watch for it, because that's where we post it. And email,
and YouTube too, right?
Yes, you can listen on YouTube. That is one of the platforms where you can listen on Facebook now too, actually. Like the whole episode just gets posted to Facebook now.
Yeah, that's
So we're on all your favorite podcast platforms, plus YouTube, plus Facebook, plus
I guess we're not on TikTok yet, but
no,
maybe not the right format.
Yeah, I don't know. I've thought about how to approach that. Maybe like posting outtakes, or like they have to be short little.
They do have to be short,
clips.
I think. Right?
I mean, I guess TikToks now can be as long as 10 minutes.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I don't know if anyone who stays for 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's too short of a time frame for us. We can't keep these thoughts to just 10 minutes.
An email, you can email us at badthingshappen@gmail.com.
But I mean, give us a comment, or if you want to send an email, we will address it. And whether you want to, take up arms against us or praise us or whatever you want to do.
Tell us your favorite band book you want us to read.
Yeah,
favorite band movie.
We're all about encouraging the discussion. Right?
Tell us the episode you hated or what opinion you think we got wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to end it there. Thank you so much for listening. I've been Todd Sullivan.
I've been Peter Ammon.
And until next time,
go read a fucking book.